Hello friends, welcome back to more Cinderella Phenomenon. I am very nervous, to say the least, about how this path is going to end. Dear God, it's been a bloodbath. But you know what? We can't put it off anymore, so let's get cracking. Chapter 10, The Hunter. Chapter 11, The Gatherer. It took a lot to convince everyone that I needed to enter the palace alone. It is the people outside who are fighting Mother that need greater strength. Bringing any one of them with me would have greatly diminished that strength. I must quickly find the king. Mother always made sure to leave the king in the throne room whenever she left, so it follows that she would leave him there now. All right. It's too quiet in here. I push open the doors and stop in the doorway. The king is sitting on his throne with a vacant expression affixed to his face. He does not so much as flinch as I step inside. I tentatively make my way to the throne. Your Majesty? He does not speak. His eyes remain fixated in the same place, as if he is looking through me. Is he gone forever? Angel needs you. The king I know would never leave his kingdom to ruin. I am standing close enough to him that I could reach out and touch him if I wanted to. What do I have to do to save you? Oh, so now you're being nice to him. I whirl around and place myself in between the king and Varg. All those years you had the opportunity to reach out to him, but you never did. So I guess the king had to be missing his soul for you to care about him. What are you doing here, Varg? Someone had to keep an eye on the old man. The queen thought someone might try to take the old man while she was busy. I had a feeling it would be you who'd return. Oh, you just want to see me again? Oh, well, I can't help it that I'm gorgeous. You can't bear the thought of losing someone else, can you? What are you going to do then? I am not leaving without the king. Varg is silent as he makes his way toward me. I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to stop him, but I will not move. I cannot let him take the king, and I will not succumb to his threats. It is at that moment, just as he is about to reach out to me, that he suddenly drops to his knees and puts a hand to his chest, his expression pained. Is Fritz coming back? I just need a little more time. What is happening to him? He manages to talk to me through gritted teeth. You shouldn't have come here alone, especially not with the big bad wolf here. It's my job to destroy you, you know. He flashes me a wicked grin, but the expression is shockingly short-lived. It is replaced by a soft smile. Fritz? But this big bad wolf can't do that. You can't destroy a person you've fallen in love with. How are you in love with me? Varg looks at me amused. How? Blame Fritz. This was never meant to happen. But I can't help feelings that were there from the get-go. The queen wasn't pleased with your knight, so she tried to erase him forever. But he hung on. He was pretty sure that if you could be strong, so could he. He looks up at me with such sadness. I actually feel guilt stir within me, and I'm not entirely sure why. I don't think Fritz could ever deserve you. Deserve me? But he's more worthy of you than I will ever be. Oh. I'm nothing more than a moth drawn to your fire. I can only ever be burned by you. Maybe Fritz will have better luck. Shadows begin to gather around Varg's feet and start to slowly swirl up the length of his body. Does this mean that Fritz is coming back? I know that this is the only thing you would ever want from me. I just wanted to tell you how I felt. Just that. Gods know that Fritz isn't capable. But he is capable of one thing. He's a good hunter. He defeated me fair and square to save Little Red. And now I have no choice but to step aside. So Fritz has overpowered Varg and my Little Red. In this equation, try to miss me, princess. Think about me every now and then. That would be enough. Varg, what are you? Goodbye, my princess. He smiles at me, his cocky grin faded into a gentle smile. The shadows cloak him fully, making him little less than a silhouette. Is he gone forever now? Is it just gonna be Fritz? I keep myself firmly positioned in front of my father. The darkness eventually dissipates, and there, standing in the moonlight, is a familiar face. Fritz! Fritz? I'm back. I look at him with bleary eyes. I'm sorry for taking so long, princess. I'm running before I even realize my feet are moving. I'm overwhelmed with so many emotions, none of which I can put a name to in this moment. I only know that I am happy, so happy. Fritz is back. Oh, look at us. Ooh, we making out. I throw my arms around his neck and kiss him. Fritz pulls his arms around my waist, pulling me closer. This is him. This is Fritz's heartbeat, his scent, his warmth. He came back to me. Thoughts whirl around my foggy head. I step away from him ever so slightly, suddenly aware of the heat in my cheeks. Wait, did I just kiss Fritz? Yeah, you did, girl. Yeah, you did. I cannot bring myself to move away from his grasp, but I suddenly cannot bring myself to look up at him either. Why did I just... Because you like him. Fritz's gentle laugh brings me back to my senses. Though it is hard to parse the feelings inside of me, I can at least be certain that I love the smile he is giving me right now. This feels like a dream. It does. And not just because of what happened, but because Fritz is here. Really here. Fritz leans forward to slowly brush a strand of hair away from my face. My heart pounds in my chest at the subtle touch. Once again, my mind is reeling with considerations. If the princess says it isn't a dream, then it must be real, because I trust her with all my heart. I thought I'd lost you for good. I do not flinch away when Fritz pulls me closer, so that I am resting against his chest. But how did this happen? Did you overwhelm Varg? Varg erased himself. How is that possible? He's always had that ability, but he's never had any reason to consider using it before. Then why now? Because he cared for you. My love for you is so strong, it must have affected him too. Aww, you love me? It's kind of depressing though. I mean, poor Varg. He's like, what is this, love? Oh God, gotta kill myself. That's really depressing, actually. Varg said the same thing, and he blamed Fritz. So is it true? Fritz smiles, and I feel his warmth spread inside me like sunlight. You feel his warmth spread inside you? I mean, okay. Always, April. Well. This is quite the scandal. Fritz moves to stand in front of me. My queen is not going to be pleased. If my curse was so weak that even Sir Fritz Gerald could break it, I do not think even I am safe from her wrath. But I believe her disappointment in me will be second to the disappointment she feels for you. After all, you chose a lowly knight. How is that bad? I mean, of my options, I guess he's only second to a prince of a foreign nation, but like, that's pretty normal for a princess to end up with a knight. At least in like stories. And lowly? Isn't his father like a big deal? He's not lowly. He's my personal knight. I mean, okay, Mithros. How dare you? Exactly, April. Princess. I stopped short at Fritz's tone. You have an important task, don't you? The king. But Mithros, trust me. Fritz releases my hand to pull out his sword, sinking easily into a ready stance. I'll protect you. You think you could possibly prevail over me? Now, when you have no cane, no power at all. Don't make me laugh. Fritz strikes, his slash quick and clean, taking Mithros by surprise. Fritz manages to cut his sword through his shoulder. Mithros hisses as he clutches his bleeding shoulder. The hatred is bright in his eyes. As Fritz rushes Mithros, I run toward the king. You think a mere swordsman can best one of the queen's apprentices? I'd be more wary if I were you, Sir Mithros. I approach the king, who has yet to move from his spot. What do I do? How could I possibly move him? Do you have magic? Use your magic. I need to wake him up, but how? Your Majesty, I've been selfish. I was always so concerned with my own feelings and my own pain. I reach out a trembling hand and set it atop one of his hands. Now I realize you were trying to help. It may have been lackluster, but you genuinely tried. I've been so unfair to you, just like Mother was. I do not know if words are enough to make up for what I have done, but I am sorry. I am sorry for being so cruel to you, please. I need you. I stare hard into my father's eyes, but there is no movement, no recognition. I dip my head in mourning and bite my lip as I try to think of another way to save him. But my thoughts subside when a flash of light permeates my vision. It is only for a moment, but when I look up, I can suddenly see life in my father's eyes. April, Your Majesty! I reach out to hug him, and he wraps his arms around me. I feel like I've been asleep for a long time. And then I heard your voice. It sounded as if you needed me. Aww, he loves me so much. What a good dad. What has happened? He eyes the motion behind me and raises his eyebrows. He attempts to stand, but his knees shake and buckle. I duck underneath one of his arms to help him back onto the throne. The king stiffens as he glances at the battle ensuing behind me. Sir Mithros and Sir Fitzgerald? What is going on here? The king has broken the enchantment. Impossible. I told you not to underestimate her. Your Majesty, we need to get you out of here. What is happening here? Mother suddenly materializes into the center of the room. Oh, we in trouble now. Standing right before Mithros and Fritz, who has the witch at sword point against the front doors. But Mother is not alone. Mother has Parfait in a tight grip. But the moment I call her name, she releases her, and Parfait tumbles to the floor. Crimson stains her dress. We've lost so many people at this point, it doesn't even surprise me. Parfait, you're bleeding. Parfait does not move to acknowledge me. Fate would not let go, so I had to bring her with me. Not that it matters. What did you do to her? Where are the others? They retreated like cowards. Persistent things. I would have killed them had Fate not sacrificed herself. I let out a sigh of relief. They're all okay and alive. You still care so much about those traitors. I cannot understand your attachment to them. Mother turns her attention away from me and to the two men who are at a standstill. Mithros, you disappoint me. All right. With a flick of her hand, Fritz is pulled away from Mithros and across the throne room toward me. I move to steady Fritz as he stumbles beside me. I'm sorry, my queen. I have given you too many chances to prove yourself worthy. You have failed me too many times, Myth. You are of no use to me anymore. But my queen, I have done everything you wanted me to. Please, give me one more chance. I promise, Silence. Mother's voice is cold and sharp as ice. Leave before I erase you from my sight. Please, my queen. Oh. Mother casts a spell at Mithros that is all too familiar. It is the same spell she used to kill Delora. Mithros does not even have a chance to defend himself as Mother's spell shocks his body. All right. Bye then. Such a pest. I don't even know why I kept that useless fool all these years. I slowly turn to look at Mithros. He is no longer standing there, but lays unmoving on the floor. I feel bile rising in my throat. I cannot believe Mother just did that to him. I mean, really? I mean, she's done worse. She killed Delora. I can't be surprised at anything anymore. How could you take away the man's life so easily, Hildir? How can you be so heartless? It is the first time I've ever heard my father speak to Mother that way. Heartless? I am heartless. Oh, so where's your nobody? Clearly someone just finished Kingdom Hearts. Humans shattered my heart many years ago when you hunted my kind. You did this to me. Out of the corner of my eye, I notice movement. In moments, Parfait moves to stand before us, blocking us from Mother. Even though her clothes are soaked in blood and she is clearly wounded, Parfait has never looked so regal before. You. Parfait's hands move before resting over her chest, where light begins to gather in her hands. She's gonna sacrifice herself. Oh, I can feel it. Oh, I don't want it to happen. In the blink of an eye, a glittering golden crystal appears above her hands. Is that the Lucius? But the light the Lucius is emitting is uneven, and as I look closer, I can see that it is cracked. What are you doing?
The only thing that can stop you.
My heart plummets as I realize what Parfait is going to do. Parfait! No! If Parfait hears me, she gives no indication. If you do this, you'll die, Fate. You'll die and remove all magic from Angiel forever.
Nothing else will stop you, will it? Your hatred for the humans, the corruption from the Tenebrarum, your hatred for the humans.
Oh, I see that now.
Magic was never meant to be used with malice, Hildir. So long as witches can be corrupted, magic will always pose a threat. I cannot allow that to happen. I wanted to change things with Delora, but...
What gives you the right to decide what to do with the magic?
I am the Lucius Bearer. I have a responsibility to maintain balance. But I see now that there can be no balance when the crystallum exists.
Light begins to gather, first around Parfait's feet, and then around her body. It slowly begins to make its way toward Mother. In no time at all, the light swarms around their bodies. A white crystal suddenly appears in front of Mother. The Tenebrarum. I won't let you do this, Fate.
It is too late for that.
The golden light of the Lucius intensifies. I can hear the crystal shattering from the inside out. No. The Tenebrarum breaks soon after, its fragments slowly fading with the bright light. Mother and Parfait's images begin to do the same, despite Mother's struggle. Both they and the crystallum slowly dissipate into the mist. No! I lunge forward, but Fritz's arms are suddenly around my waist, holding me still. Mother snarls as she attempts to escape Parfait, but the light around her creates a thick box she cannot escape from. You would die for the humans that have hunted my kind because of their fairy tales.
No, I'm dying for you, Hildir, so that for once I might save you from yourself.
Mother chokes out a laugh. You are a fool, Fate.
Perhaps I am, but at least I will die with hope in my heart.
Mother turns to look at me in the blinding light. Parfait's concentration never wavers as she turns to settle her eyes on me as well. Mother's face is fading in the glow, but her voice is clear. I did truly love you, April. Everything I have done, everything I did out of love. Parfait smiles at me gently. It is a silent goodbye. I don't want... Well, if that's love, it comes at much too high a cost. No. Delora loved me, not you. There is a brief burst of light, and for a few moments I am blinded. When my vision returns, I see Fritz first. He is standing where Parfait and Mother had been only moments ago. On the floor where they stood moments ago, there is only dust. That was rough, guys. This whole path has been rough. Is this a new song? It sounds new. With the loss of the crystal, magic vanished from Angiel. All the fairy tale curses broke simultaneously, and all witches and fairies lost their power. As soon as it disappeared, I turned to an education centered around the knowledge of Angiel rather than magic. I decided back then that I would do anything to help Angiel and his people, and it needed to start first by educating itself. I'd started to follow my father on his trips around the kingdom. I'd even started to accompany Emmeline on all her trips outside the palace. Oh, good for you. Fritz has remained by my side for the past month. He comes with me every day I visit the graves. Carefully, so as not to disturb the flowers Jurian had left. Jurian's okay. Jurian had left earlier. I leaned down to place my lilies by each gravestone. Garland, Delora, Parfait, and the last is always the hardest. With a deep breath, I walk up to the fourth gravestone. I stare at it for a long time before I finally set a lily down. Mother. Okay. I don't know how I feel about her being buried right next to, the people who stopped her. She, killed a lot of people. Kind of a crappy person. Fritz and I stand there in silence as we grieve for the lives lost that day. I look up into the sky and smile as I stare at the warm rays of the sun. I shift my gaze at Fritz, who smiles at me. He has never left my side since that day. Fritz has already told me that he loves me, but I've yet to tell him my own feelings. Fritz? Yes? I didn't have the chance to ask this before, but how can you possibly love me? I've been so horrible, not just to you, but to everyone around me. Fritz's expression softens. He gently tilts my chin upward so that I have to look at him as he speaks. Hi. For as long as I've known you, you've had to deal with things no one should have to go through. You were forced to live in the Queen's shadow because others refused to see past your relationship to her. You've been alone for so long, and I could see how much you were hurting. But despite all that pain, you remain strong. You've always been strong. From the beginning, all I've wanted to be was someone you could rely on, someone you could trust, someone who would always be there for you. I must have trusted him from the beginning, too. Fritz was the only one I allowed to get close to me. I do not look away from him, but instead I stare back into his eyes with conviction. I know I may not have shown it, but I did trust you. I've always been able to tell. You wear your heart on your sleeve. Oh, do I? I do not. Fritz laughs, and the slightest cockiness of his smile reminds me a little bit of Varg, someone else. It's been years since you became my responsibility. Once I learned your tells, you became an open book. He surprises me by putting his forehead to mine. The feeling of him so close is comforting. I love the way you're so careful with whatever you consider precious. I love how your eyes light up when you eat a good pastry. I love whenever you rely on me. I bite down on my lip as I blink back tears. No one has ever had that kind of faith in me. Before I knew it, you'd made a spot for yourself in my heart. And I began to want, to hope, that one day I could be as dear to you as you are to me. I stare up at Fritz, the tears pooling in my eyes. He wipes away a tear before it can roll down my cheek. I have never felt so cherished before. I do not step away when he leans forward to plant a kiss on my forehead. Aww, look at us. I hold out my hand and Fritz comes to my side. I feel the warmth of his fingers and smile. When things begin to overwhelm me, he never fails to calm me. I grip his hand more tightly. April, I love you. You know that, right? I've known for a while, but it's nice to hear it all the same. Then I'll say it for as long as you want me to. For the rest of our lives, then. A princess and her knight, huh? Does that matter? No, it doesn't. Even if there was such a rule, I'd abolish it once I became queen. Fritz starts to laugh. As always, his laughter is full of so much joy, it lifts my heart. want to hear it for the rest of my life. And maybe, just maybe, I'll be able to. Aww. Oh my gosh, that was so beautiful. Oh. Oh my goodness, that was so gorgeous. Oh. I think that might have been the best, like, final romance scene of any of these so far. Like, man, that was worth the wait. That was definitely worth the wait. Oh, man. Oh, I mean, what a bloodbath. What a bloodbath that was, but that was so beautiful. Look at us holding me. Oh. Cinderella, why don't you stay with me tonight? Oh. Look at Varg. Oh my god. Oh, now he's smirking at me. This was a really well done, like, it was like a tragedy in a lot of ways. Yeah, I liked that we lost, like, I didn't like it, obviously, it broke my heart. But at the same time, I did really enjoy the way we lost so many people. It kind of makes the ending so much more bittersweet than some of the other ones. Although if we lost this many people in the good ending, which I assume this is, because I've experienced one bad ending and it was not like this. Man, I can only imagine what sort of hell the bad ending would have put me through. Aww. Thank you for playing Cinderella Phenomenon. Thank you for having me. I had a grand old time. That was a great final scene too. Man, I loved it. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this playthrough. Oh, look at his cute little card thing right there. I love it. It's gorgeous. They all look so pensive. And we only have one left. Oh, thank you guys so much for joining me on Fritz's path. I think what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna go back through and see if I can get the bad ending. And just record the bad ending for you guys now while all the emotions are still so fresh, because man, that ripped my heart out when I did that with Karma. And then next up is going to be the last one, Waltz's Path. And I think while I do Waltz's Path, I'm also going to intersperse some bad endings in there as well. That way, by the time we finish Waltz's journey, we'll have experienced all good and bad endings together. Yeah, so thank you guys so much again, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!